So now we want to make sure we can get a product from our catalog, and obviously if we've got it inside our Redux state, we don't want to be going out to go and get our product from the API. But also we don't want to break our app, because it's possible that a user is going to do this, refresh the page, which means we do not have anything in our catalog state and we do need to go and get the product. And let's see how we can resolve this using the entity adapters that we're making use of. So back inside our catalog slice, what we will start with is creating the equivalent method to go and get an individual product. And I'm going to engage lazy mode. Always dangerous, because now we need to be careful not to make a typo. And I'm just going to call this method create product async. And this is going to return a single product instead of a list of products. And we also need to give this a parameter as well. And because it's just a single parameter we need for the product ID, I'm just going to specify a type of number, but I don't need to put it inside an object. And then inside the parameters or our arguments for this function, we can simply specify the product ID. And then we can, instead of returning a list, we're going to just return product details and pass in the product ID. So do be careful if you've engaged lazy mode like I did and just copied and pasted this method for convenience. And because we need to do some cases inside our reducer, my temptation is to do the same again, but I'm not going to do it this time. We need to be a bit more careful with these. And I'm just going to say fetch product async and pick this one. And I'm going to say pending, what to do when we're pending. And we'll get state. And inside here, we're just going to say state.status equals pending fetch product. And then we'll add the next case and say add case, and we'll say fetch products async, and we'll say fulfilled. And we need the state and the action this time so that we can get the product inside here. And the way that we're going to do this is we're going to use our products adapter again. So we're going to say products adapter, and this time we're going to use the upsert1 method to upsert a new product into our product entities that we're storing inside our state. And then we'll pass in the state and we'll specify action.payload. And I've got an error because, and I've probably named this terribly because they're very close to what they are. This is the fetch products async. And I just want fetch product async because this is just a single product, and the products async is of course expecting many products. And after this I can set the state.status back to idle. And we'll just add one final case for the rejected methods. And we'll say fetch products and be careful once again. And look for rejected, and then we can pass in the state. And once again, just going to set the state.status back to idle to turn off the loading indicator. So we're going to upsert the product into the products array if we use our async method. But the goal of this is not to use the async method to go and fetch the product from the API unless we actually need to. So how do we resolve that? Well, we've got our selector functions from our entity adapter as well. So let's head to the product details page now and see how we can resolve the other problem of going out to our API too often. And let's see what we've got. We've got local state to store our product in. Let's remove that, and we'll instead use a selector. So we'll say const product equals, and we'll say use app selector. And this takes our state, so we're going to need to pass our state to this one, because we're not just going to select all of our state, we want to be very specific. And in order to use the select by ID, then we need to pass in our existing state so that it has access to that. So I'm going to specify the state as an argument. And then we're going to make use of our product selectors once again. And this time we can use select by ID. And this takes some state as an argument, as the first argument. So we'll pass in the state. And the second argument is the ID we're looking for. and I've got this in the wrong place. We're going to need to use list ID, but I'll just need to move this down after I've completed this method so that it has access to the ID. And I'll cut the use params and just move it above the use app selector method, and that's going to go and get our product by ID from our state. But we only want that to happen when we do not have the product. So once again, we'll use our use effect, and we'll remove the existing method to go and use the agent and get the product. And we'll add another check inside here, and we'll say that if we do not have the product, as in we've checked our state up here, and we still don't have a product, then we're going to use our dispatch and dispatch that action to go and get the product. So we'll say dispatch, and then we can use our fetch product async, not the products async, and then we can use the ID that we have, and we'll need to pass this into an int and then use the ID. And we've got a complaint, and I think I just need to import this to the existing import declaration. And no more complaints. Good. So let's take a look and see our progress. And because we're using a use effect, then we're going to need to add some additional dependencies. We're using dispatch, and we're using the product to decide if we should go and get the product. So let's just add those dependencies in as well. And we'll add the product as a dependency. And we're using local loading state here, so let's remove this. And instead we'll use the status flag that we have inside our store. And we've got status coming in from our basket, but we're also going to need the status from our catalog here as well. And I've called them the same name. So how do we get around this? Because obviously it's going to give us an error. If I go and use status and say use app selector, and say state goes to state.catalog, we're going to see nasty red squiggles because we can't use two properties that are the same name. So to get around that, what we can do is add a colon and then specify a different name of how we want this property to be called inside our component, and then the error goes away. But if I want to access the status from the catalog, then I just use the product status one here. And then we can scroll down to our loading indicator, and we can specify if status, or product status I should say, and I'm just going to use includes and pending, then we're going to return our loading component. Phew. Let's see how we're doing and see if we've solved any of our problems here. So I'll just refresh the page. And we can see that we're loading the products after I refreshed. That's fine. If I go to the catalog, we're going to be loading our products because I'd refreshed the page. But what we want to see now is no loading, because we want to be getting this from our state. And if I pick on a product and we see we load straight away, or no loading I should say, we go back to the catalog again, no loading, different products, catalog, and we're looking pretty good. But are we? Let's see if there's, or let's refresh the page to see if there's any problems inside our Redux DevTools. And I'll just refresh. And we can see that we're fetching the products, and that looks good. And if we go back to our catalog, we load our products, and that's fine. And if we go to another product, back to the catalog, different products, back to the catalog, everything appears to be fine. And let's just check the console to see if we're missing anything from the hook. And sure enough, I'm missing the dispatch in the catalog component. So let's just go and clear that up, because that's one I forgot to add. And that's in the catalog. We need our dispatch. And where was the other warnings? In our product details, we also have two things to clean up, or at least I do. And I can remove the agent and the product imports from there. So let's head back to our app. Let's refresh the page. Let's make sure there's no errors, make sure everything's good. If I click on a product, that's fine. Let's just go to the DevTools. I was expecting possibly to see 2 requests for our products, but I'm not seeing that. And I want to just double check the network tab as well. So I'm just going to clear the console, refresh the page. And do we see any more than a single request going to our API? We've got this one, but that's going to localhost 3000. And we've got this one. It's going to the API. Oh, looks fine. No problems, no need to make any adjustments. Everything is looking good. And we've removed that annoying loading when we're getting a product from our existing state. So we're almost there. We've got our application in Redux state now, and we've improved our functionality because now we're not going out to load anything. What we'll look at next is just do some cleanup, and we'll take a look at the error handling that we have, especially inside these async thunks.